If you wouldn't follow yourself, why should anyone else? The first person you should lead is yourself. Don't wait until the pressure's on to make a character choice. If you become the leader you ought to be on the inside, you will become the leader you want to be on the outside. One indispensable qualities of a leader. I remember a conference that I recently held, and we were doing a Q&A. It was a leadership conference, of which, when I was doing that Q&A, a young man still in college raised his hand, and he said, I want to be a leader, but he said, I'm still in school, and I haven't had any leadership experience. He said, so I want to lead people. He said, John, the question I have for you is, who should I start leading? And I looked at him, and you can see this one coming, can't you? I said, the first person you should lead is yourself. Think about it, my friend. If you wouldn't follow yourself, why should anyone else? That's why we're talking about the 21 indispensable qualities of a leader. Because here's what I have discovered. If you become the leader you ought to be on the inside, you will become the leader you want to be on the outside. That's a fact. But leadership is an inside job. A couple of years ago, I was in Mobile, Alabama, and I was doing the Senior Bowl. I was speaking to 900 scouts and coaches in the NFL. And one of the things they allowed me to do after spending a morning with them, talking to them about the laws of teamwork, is I went out on the practice field where all the seniors were there, and the scouts were everywhere. In fact, there were more scouts on the field than players. And they had their watches, and they were timing players, and they were asking questions, and they were watching carefully as they went through their different drills. And as I was standing there watching them do all this whole process, I had a head football coach come up beside me who had heard me that morning and thanked me for what I'd shared. And they said, John, he said, we're out here timing everything, measuring everything. But he said, the one thing I discovered is, of all the things you can measure, there's one thing you cannot measure. And he said, that's the heart of a football player. What was that football coach saying? He was saying, great football players, you got to know what's on the inside to know how great they're really going to become. That's true about leadership. And we're going to talk about 21 qualities that you want to have as a part of your life that will allow you to be a successful leader. Quality number one is character. Whenever I talk to anybody about leadership and they kind of say, okay, where do I start? I always start them on the subject of character. In your notes, British Field Marshal Montgomery said, leadership is the capacity and the will to rally men and women to a common purpose and the character which inspires confidence. What the British Field Marshal was saying is, it is character that instills confidence in the leader. In other words, people have to be able to buy into, they have to believe in that leader. So let me give you some character comments for the lesson today. Character comment number one, character does not make you a leader, but it can disqualify you. Let's make sure we understand this. Just because you have character, or just because I have character, doesn't mean we're going to be a good leader. I know wonderful people who have wonderful character, but they're not a good leader. See, it doesn't make you become a leader, but it does disqualify you. If you think of all the situations that we have seen in corporate America, of the ethical fallout and leaders who kind of crash and burn, and you understand that they had great skills as a leader, and they spent years getting to where they really were at the top of that business or the top of that organization, and all of a sudden it's a character issue that literally sets them apart and sabotages them and brings them down. You see, again, character doesn't make you a leader, but it can disqualify you from becoming a leader. Andy Stanley said it so well. Andy said, character doesn't make you a leader, but it does make you a leader worth following. James Kouzes and Barry Posner, in their book, The Leadership Challenge, said this. nearly 1,500 managers from around the country. They did a study of them that was sponsored by the American Management Association, and they asked the following open-ended question: what values, personal traits, or characteristics do you look for and admire in your superiors? In other words, what makes a leader worth following? More than 225 values, traits, and characteristics were identified. They were then reduced to 15 categories. What these managers said they wanted most from their leaders was integrity. The categories that scored the highest marks were integrity, is truthful, is trustworthy, has character, and has convictions. That's powerful. Basically, it lets you know that character is essential to effective leadership. The second character comment is this: character is the will to do right even when it's hard. Character is the will to do right even when it's hard. And let me tell you where the conflict of character always comes in. The conflict always comes when doing the right thing costs more than we desire to pay. Isn't that true? The other day I was supposed to do a major conference. It was a national conference for home interiors out of Dallas, and the date had been set for a year. It was the most important conference of the year for them. And on the very day that I was supposed to speak to them, I had an invitation from the White House to spend some time with the president. I thought, oh my goodness. And I remember calling the crew there at Home Interiors, the leaders, and say, here's what I've got. What do you think? And then I said, do you think we could do a video? And they came back and said, yeah, you could do a video. And we'll do a video live shoot of you, and that'll be fine because we don't want you to miss that opportunity. And I can tell you, for the next 24 hours, I was miserable. Why was I miserable? Because the right thing to do was to say no to the White House and say yes to Home Interiors. But the price was more than I wanted to pay. That's where the conflict always comes in. I'll never forget, I got up the next morning, I called him immediately, said, look, if you had a choice between a video of me and me being live, which would you choose? Well, of course. They said, well, if we had the choice, we'd choose you being live. Then I said, I'll be there. Cancel the White House. Now, what I'm saying to you is that character always has this issue of what's the right thing to do versus what's the convenient thing to do. And that's where the tension is, and that's where the rub is. But I'm here to tell you very simply, the right thing to do is always the right thing to do. Which brings me to the third character comment, and that is character is a choice. We don't get to choose our parents, we don't choose our upbringing, our IQ, our talents, but we do get to choose our character. And in your notes, successful people make right choices and then they manage them. They understand that it's my responsibility to make the right choice, and after I make the right choice, then I'm going to manage it. Here's what I want you to know. You've got to make the character choice on the front end. Don't wait until the pressure's on to make a character choice. Don't wait until the temptation is high, the stakes are high, and then you say, well, okay, now, what am I going to do? Am I going to do the right thing or the wrong thing? Don't wait for that. You can't manage a decision you don't make. So make the character decision on the front end and then manage it the rest of their life. Number 4, character increases trust. And trust is foundational to leadership. In the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership is the law of buy-in. People buy into the vision, what? Before they buy into the leader. You see, every leader wears 2 badges. The visible, which is your position and title. Now hang on. And the invisible, which is moral authority. And character is the invisible badge that gives you moral authority. Andy Stanley, in his wonderful book, The Next Generation Leader, said, your position gives you authority within a certain context, i.e., the office. Your moral authority, however, gives you influence in a variety of contexts. Your position will prompt people in your organization to lend you their hands on a temporary basis, but your moral authority will inspire them to lend you their hearts. Powerful statement. Nathaniel Hawthorne said, no man can for any considerable time wear one face to himself and another to the multitude without finally getting bewildered as to which is the true one. developing the quality of character in your life, here's what you do. If you really want to develop this quality of character, make the decision today to become a person of character, then manage it every day.